What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Fit Dad Club podcast. My name is Travis Jones. I'm here with Jason Barrett. Jace, how you doing today, buddy?
Doing fantastic. I'm super. Thanks for asking. How are you, Manny?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. Today, guys, it's like the middle of November, probably when you're listening to this podcast, and the silly season is approaching. That means
I hear those sleigh bells ringling and ring ting tingling too.
And what that means to a lot of people is like, fuck it.
Time to bulk. Time
exactly.
To bulk.
But what we're going to talk about is navigating the silly season today as a fit dad, and what you should do and how to navigate it. And I think, some of you listening today maybe have just started their journey as a fit dad by listening to us this year. And it could be your first Christmas, like navigating the silly season as a fit dad. And we're here to help you. Or you might be like just listening, not on your journey yet and going, oh, I'm going to wait till next year. And we're going to also help you get started this year by not putting on the weight. And navigating the silly season and still starting to achieve the results. Because I think when we're looking at the best time to start your transformation, it's always right now. Like it is. Like it's not putting it off any longer. It's starting it right now in this moment, because to change your life only takes a moment. And that moment is a decision. And then from that first decision, there is a carry-on effect of other decisions that happen because of that first one. It could be listening to this podcast today. That is your first decision that will change the rest of your life. So that is what we're talking today, guys. It is navigating the silly season. And it is like mid-November. And when we're looking at this, the silly season really is December. And they're like, oh, when we say the fuck it before, it's like, people go, well, Christmas is such a hectic month. Why I can't lose weight still, or they don't even think about maintaining. They just completely go off the rails. And because they say there's too much on. And if we reflect back and we think about this for a second, is there too much on? Like you might have a work party, your wife or your partner might have a work party. So that's like 2 days. Okay. Now, so we've got 2 work parties in there. Then we have Boxing Day. If you do stuff for Boxing Day, you have Christmas Day, and you have Christmas Eve. Then you have New Year's Eve. So if we look at this, is that six days?
Yep.
And that's really it. So you got 31 days. Yep, 31 days in December. As I thought about that.
30 days.
Yep. So there's 31 days, and what you're doing is you're allowing 20, 30 days, and there's 6 days. So, 20% of the month to dictate the other 80%. Like that doesn't sound right. Well, in reality, you're probably only good 80% of the month anyway. But now you're planning. so
you already had shit on weekends. You're already going, oh, there's a footy function, there's the grand final, there's this, there's that. You've already got the excuses. Now it's just called a Christmas party. But because you're celebrating something that's not happening for 2 weeks, you're then like, oh, fucking, it's like you're still going to work. Most people are working up to like the 22nd, 23rd at least. Like,
yeah, man.
It's still fucking business as usual.
It is. And, if we say, no, I'm not going to do like 20% of 1 month, you're allowing to dictate, essentially, what is that, 8% of your total year, if you're just writing off December. And that normally takes you a couple of weeks to get back into it to January because you've gone off the rails. So then all of a sudden you're really allowing 20% of 1 month to dictate 10% of a year. And I don't think that's okay. I don't think it's okay, especially if you've got a compelling vision that you're trying to strive towards becoming the best version of you. So in reality, let's look at it differently. Let's look at what we have in control. And it is 6 days. And when I look at it, it's not even 6 days for me. It's like, I'm not a boxing. Yeah, it's like 3 days, right? Like, no one wants to be the absolute smashed person at the Christmas party, especially at your partner's Christmas party. Because that's the person.
You're a Deso driver at that one.
Exactly. It was like, and again, like if you have kids like me, it's like, man, I'm not getting a habit on New Year's Eve. I'm not. You know what? I've got 2 kids that I still have to deal with on New Year's Day. And what the worst thing is? Being hungover with 2 young kids.
On a hot day.
On a hot day. It's like, let's look ahead of myself, Jay. So I'm in Tasmania. It's not a hot day.
Yeah. On a 20 degree day.
Exactly. But it's like, for me, I'm like, maybe there's 3 days, and maybe it's food, no alcohol, like whoever you are and whatever your goals are. But if we look at it, 3 to 6 days, maybe it's 10, 20% of your month. So can we still navigate this, and can we still lose weight? Yes, we can. Can we maintain weight? Yes, we can. And I think what we have to look at is what's the difference between the two and how to navigate it. So, Jason, I'm going to let you go on to what is the difference between someone who wants to just maintain and someone who wants to still cut weight in December, cut fat.
So, cut fat. So the big difference is, as I'm sure if you've listened to this podcast, you probably know, it's going to be your calorie intake and your general expenditure. Those are going to be the two variables that we primarily look at and track and just have awareness of. So for most people, two things happen. Their expenditure tends to go down, right? They don't go for as many walks. They don't do as much. They, to be honest, sometimes for people it goes up. You might go to the beach, you're running around with the kids, especially if you've got young ones. Like Christmas is not a sit on the couch drinking beers kind of day that it might have been, a few years ago. It's definitely a bit more active for a lot of guys. So you can get a bit more expenditure in. You run around, you play backyard cricket, right? You test out the new toys. You go down to the park and fly the kites, right? Do people still buy kites anymore? My dad brings kites to every family event now. Tries to get him up in the air. He's on a kite.
That's his thing
right now. Yeah. He wants them for Christmas. That's his vibe right now. But that's kind of the stuff that you do. Like, so you're not really reducing your expenditure that much. It's not like you're going to lose all your progress. So that's a lot of fear that people have, which is why they kind of end up binging anyway. Is like they fear they're going to lose all their progress over this period. But for someone who wants to cut, we'll do the harder one first, right? Yes, it's a bit more difficult to lose body fat. But if you take these 6 days, 6 isolated days, usually they're not back to back. The only one that is Christmas Day and Boxing Day. But most of the time, Boxing Day, you've got like leftover cold meats, some leftover salads. Like you don't have that much crap on Boxing Day. It's usually just like the random snacks and stuff that's left over from Christmas. But by that point, you're like, yeah, all right, I might have like some cold meats. Like we'll make some eggs in the morning, right? Protein, great. Have some ham, for lunch and a salad, and you're just kind of playing with the toys and letting putting away the stuff and cleaning up. Usually, it's not that big of a thing. So if you don't have these big back-to-back days, you take them all as isolated events. You keep up with your calorie deficit. And if you want to enjoy yourself a bit more on those days, or for you enjoying yourself means eating a bit more or having a couple of drinks, then you plan and account for it. And you look at, right, what am I going to be having on that day? I'm going to either make myself eat at maintenance for that day while I'm in a deficit the rest of the week. And I'm going to take, let's say, for example, if you take 500 calories from earlier in the week, let's say you're eating 2,000 calories. You instead hit your goal to be 1,900 calories for Monday through to Friday, and the party's on Saturday. You've got an extra 500 calories that you can then put into Saturday, which then means you're eating 2,500 calories, and you'll still be in a deficit. If 2,000 calories is a deficit for you, you can adjust the numbers however you need. So there you go. Right, 2,500 calories, and then all you do is you keep it a bit leaner during the day, and then you give yourself, if you had some, our favorite dessert here at the Fit Dads Club, Greek yogurt, protein berries, frozen berries, Greek yogurt, and protein powder mixed together. So good. It's so good. It's so high volume. It's filling. Like you eat that shit, you'll be done for a while.
Yeah. And the way I alter is like a different flavored protein powder. I'll go vanilla to chocolate, or I'll go like strawberries to blueberries. Wow. Yeah. But it tastes different and is amazing.
Yeah. 100%. And then it's like for lunch, you have some chicken breast and a salad, right? You get a big salad, heaps of lettuce, all that kind of stuff. And then guess what? You've probably got like 1,800 calories for dinner. Unless you're going full fucking YOLO mode. No one's going to eat 1,800 calories, like, unless you have like 10 beers and you're going like full nuts, right? Which, if your goal is fat loss, you're like, cool, I'm still going to be able to enjoy myself within reason, and not, here's the key thing. If you're trying to lose fat, just don't eat like an asshole, right? Like, what eating like an asshole is. Don't just eat like an asshole. Just be aware. It's like, I'm not going full loose. Like, and there, look, if you really want to, have 1 or 2 untracked days where you don't really track and you just kind of eat to your heart's content. You've got Christmas Day, and to be honest, Christmas Day is probably the only day most people would do that. But then even that one day, if you were to go full overboard, if you just get back into it the next day, and even if you keep Boxing Day at maintenance and then you come back a little bit lower, like 1,800 instead of 2,000 for the week after Boxing Day, you're good. You'll easily within that week make up for that extra deficit and continue to lose fat. So the biggest thing is planning ahead. is taking away a little bit from earlier days and earlier weeks. You can, sort of front run your deficit and sort of back run your deficit and be in a bigger deficit either side, and then enjoy those days. Or you could just eat at maintenance on those days and accept that that one day isn't going to move you forward, but it's also not going to set you back. But the biggest thing for me is being present with yourself, being present with your hunger cues and food, and just focusing on making sure you get enough protein in, enjoying the meals and not just mindlessly snacking. And that'll really help you keep your calories down, and just not drinking for the sake of drinking. And just, that kind of that presence and that focus on just enjoying the day and enjoying the time with the family, right? So that would be my way to, and just going for as many walks as you can, spending time with the family, being the one to look after the kids and run around. That'll get your expenditure up. That'll keep you in a deficit. But you've got to be aware of what your calories are. You've got to be tracking that, and you've got to be able to adjust everything else a bit lower. It'll give you wiggle room on those days, or you adjust those days to be a lot leaner during the day. You have a bigger meal towards evening. You can still be in a deficit on that day as well. You don't even have to eat above or at maintenance and compensate. You can do it on those days specifically.
Man, I completely agree with what you're saying there. It's like, I think, when we look at it, a couple of things happen. Like, people go into an all or nothing mindset across the whole month of December. And I think this is the problem, right?
Yeah.
The average person gains 3 to 5 kilos between December 1st and like January 3rd. Like, that's a big weight gain, especially because it takes about 7,700 calories to gain a kilo. So that means, they're eating an extra 1,000 calories on average every day across the month to gain above what their maintenance is to gain those 3 kilos, or that's about 1,500 calories every single day across the month to gain their 5 kilos. So obviously not doing that every day, but what they're doing is they're completely blowing out a few days. And how that happens is because they have an all or nothing mindset. They've gone, you know what, I can't train how I could, or I can't, the 20% of the month has screwed me, so I'm just having a YOLO month. And so, what they'll do is they'll have the drinks at the Christmas parties. They'll overeat that night. They'll feel like crap the next day. And that day might have been a 5,000 or 6,000 calorie. The next day ends up being like a hangover, like 5,000 or 6,000 calorie day as well.
Yeah,
and that
sort of
shot
in the morning and just
overshoots their week. And then, leading up into Christmas, like they go overeat on Christmas Eve because they go to one family, then they keep eating and drinking on Christmas Day, then they watch the Boxing Day test, and they can't not have like 25 beers on that day. And because they feel hungover, which is Tuesday, I think is Boxing Day this week, they'll just carry that on for the rest of the week until New Year's Day, which is like the Monday or Tuesday the following week this year. And it's like there's like a 9 or 10 day like all you can eat buffet in their house. Maybe it's not meat based on the meat prices these days, but maybe they're eating like, something else like sausages. I think sausages are still cheap. So if we look at this,
and sausages suck for you.
And they suck for your calories, right? But like, I think what you have to understand is you can't have an all or nothing mindset, or you will be like these people. And even if you just tracked 80% of the month at your calories, and you had 6 days where it was like, you know what, I can't be bothered tracking today. So to gain the 3 kilos over those 6 days, you means you would have had to go up by, what is that, 22 or 23,000 calories. So say you had your normal calories on those 6 days, and that means you would have had to overshoot by 3,500 calories each of those days. So like,
calories,
Fuck.
That's
so
a lot.
I know. So on those 6 days, you would have had to have like a 5,000 or 6,000 calorie day on those 6 days to put on that weight. And you're not going to do that. No one's going out and eating 6,000 calories on those 6 days. And remember, it's probably not even 6 days. But if you can choose, if you wanted to pick or choose, it's like, you know what, like Christmas Day and Boxing Day, I'm not gonna track because I'm just going to be present. And it doesn't mean you can't be present and track, but I'm going to be there. Now, there is a version of you historically also that went hell for leather and they just ate like an asshole. Instead, like eat like an adult, okay? So like how an adult should eat.
Practice a couple things.
Yeah.
Number one, here's some etiquette things. Number one, when you have a mouthful of food, put the fork down and chew 10 to 15 times at least. I think it should be closer to 20, but at least 10 to 15 times. You put the fork down in between. Don't have the second fork ready to go until you finish your mouthful, right? And then you get the next mouthful in. That's like, again, eating like an adult. You're giving your brain and you're giving your stomach time to send signals to your brain to say, I'm full, rather than you going, fuck, I'm trying to beat the system, right? You're not in an eating competition.
Or you're like having a glass of milk there so you can try and like not even swallow the wash it down. You're eating and drinking, eating and drinking.
Eggnog, mate. Tis the season. Yeah, you just fucking don't smash that shit down. Give yourself time, chew your food, put your knife and fork down in between bites, and yeah, have your balanced plate and enjoy the meal. Like savor and enjoy the meal. And if you're not able to savor and enjoy the meal, it's probably because it doesn't taste that good. So therefore, don't eat another serving. Boom, fucking problem solved.
Right, it's so simple, right? I think like when we look at it, you know, again, you can have a free day where it's like, I'm not going to track, but you just eat like an adult in those days. How will I feel tomorrow? And how will I eat today to make myself feel tomorrow somewhat pretty good to work out? Because again, you know, if you just start your journey, as I prefaced at the start of this podcast, if you start this journey this year, you know, when we go through previous environments, they trigger previous habits. Okay. I think this is a big thing. The way you approach this year and your Christmas can be different to last year because you're a different person. You've reinvented yourself. So with this, it's like, now this is the new you, the rebirth. Okay. If you want to get Christian or whatever it is.
Born again.
Yeah. So I think if you look at this, this is the new you. The new you might train on Christmas morning. Oh, I couldn't do that. My kids aren't right. Okay, maybe you goes for a walk with your kids and trains all together. Maybe that's a new tradition, like out in the garden after you wrap after you do, or you go down the beach if you're in the Southern Hemisphere and you listen to this down here and it's hot as hell. Like, I don't care. Like, make some healthy traditions. Like, play some backyard cricket and get moving and get active and burn some calories, right? Like, I think the time is now to write your future, and the future version of you over the next 10 years. How are they celebrating their Christmases and their New Year's? And what would that healthiest version of you do? It doesn't mean it's like historically you just acted like an arsehole and drank and ate for like, you know, a month straight. It's like, well, if I act like an adult, want to be the best version of myself, it doesn't mean you can't enjoy yourself. Have the pavlova, have the, you know, pudding if that's what your jam is.
Pavlova's just egg whites, just protein.
Exactly.
Damn, yeah,
you're
bit of sugar, protein.
Yeah, killing it. But like, have your food. But what I would say is, like, just eat conservatively as far as not putting it all in your mouth at the same time. Eat, chew. I think that's a big thing. But I think when you do that also, it's making sure that we're going into the day going, I'm going to load my plate up with protein first. You know, if you're in Australia, you're going to put a shrimp on the barbie. So I think, you know, you're going to have some prawns, you're going to have some ham, probably going to have some turkey. It's like, have half your plate loaded with protein. You know what's really satiating? Protein. Okay. So it's going to fill you up and make you full. And if you've got a wife like mine, like, she like kills it with a good Christmas ham. Like, there is prawns there. We've got a seafood, we've got a ham, and I'll fill up the plate with protein. I'll have 2 plates at lunch, but then I'm not eating till dinner. And when I eat dinner, I might just like have a toasty. And Jace has a couple of recipes out there on toasties that are
couple
great.
Of high protein toasties.
But that's me. It's like, okay, for Christmas morning, I'll have a bacon egg muffin. I'll make everyone bacon egg muffins. If you go on there, you know they're about 300-400 calories. I'll double dose lunch for me with like high protein and a bit of pavlova. I know my lunch is going to be about 700 to 900 calories. Like, I know that without me tracking it. I just know it. I don't drink, so that's okay. But if you do drink, you might say you have 6 beers, it's going to be 700 calories. And if you have dinner, if you have a toasty, chuck some ham in there, chuck some low-fat cheese and 2 pieces of toast that down because you had a massive lunch like I would. And I have a toasty, and then I'm like pretty much comatose, and I sort of chill out for the rest of the night after that. My day is about 2,500 to 3,000 calories, which is kind of like my maintenance, to be honest with me. And then the next day I get up and train. And I think, you know, it doesn't mean you can't have more than my calories, but I'm like, that's how I navigate Christmas Day. Okay. And the next day, I really kind of don't have breakfast on a Boxing Day normally. I normally get out and train. I feel good. I have a shake in the morning because I want to feel a bit lighter because I'm normally a bit heavier as far as like just in my gut. And we go out to lunch on we have leftovers on Boxing Day. And for me at that point, I'm like, I had so much meat the day before. I was like, I'll have like a plate, and it's like 1 plate, and it's like good to go. And my day just normally rolls on from that. because you know what? The biggest thing is I never miss 2 days in a row. Okay. I think this is the rule, right? If you have a big Christmas day, then you don't have a big Boxing Day. Like it's just a rule. If you don't train on Christmas Day, you train on Boxing Day. And I think a lot of the all or nothing mindset also happens, Jace, around training, because training is a keystone habit for a lot of people. So they're like, oh, I'm away this week, because people go away between Christmas and New Year's, right? I'm away this week. And because they don't train, they don't have that domino that knocks over the other dominoes. So, training, you train in the morning, you feel great, so you eat healthy. And because they don't train, they just eat like an asshole. So instead, you can train anywhere, guys. Just do, like, a couple of my boys were traveling. I was like, all right, all you got to do is 10 sets of 10 push-ups, squats, sit-ups. Just do that's enough. It will take you, honestly, like 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes, depends on your fitness level, maybe 5 minutes. I don't know who you are. But just like, yeah, exactly. And like maybe like in between each round, if you want to make it harder, go run 400 meters, right? So all of a sudden you ran 4K, you've done a bit of pump work, and you do that every day. Oh, but that's not the best program design. I don't give a fuck, right? You're talking about, you want to move.
To quote Trav, we're dads. Nothing's optimal. Stop chasing optimal.
Oh, that's not the best program. The guy who has 12 beers and 17 pavlovas on Christmas Day, mate, that's not optimal either. So let's stop. That's normally the person who's trolling me when I say things like this. So guys, what's most optimal is doing something that kicks the domino of training, the keystone habit of training, knocks over the nutrition, knocks over the sleep, knocks over having a high energy and being that high frequency dad that you want to be. So in the month of December, what I would say is have a rule. Play a game. Never miss twice on training. So you're going to train 15 days out of the 31. Happy days, right? So that's rule 1. Never miss 2 days in a row with tracking nutrition. So all of a sudden, 50% of the month, you are on point with your calories, right? And then I think if you just had that one rule in December, you will maintain your weight across the whole month. Very simple. If you want to be the dad who still drops weight, you're like, no, you know what? I created a new identity and I set myself to be the best version of myself. So what I'm doing is I'm going to calorie cycle during the month of December. So you know that this day I'm going to have like 3,500 calories. Maybe you're normally having 2,000 a day as your cut, or 1,800 days a cut, whatever it is. I'm going to have a big Christmas day. And you know what? Just take your other days down by like 400 calories a day. You would have saved like 2,400 calories. Is that 6 4s are 24? Yep. 2,400 calories across the week. Quick math. Or, bring them down by, maybe you have 2 slightly higher days and you bring the 5 days down. This is what's called calorie cycling, guys. So, weight loss happens, or fat loss happens over 7 days, not 1 day. And just because your weight might spike for that day after the big calories, just glycogen in your muscles. And especially if you're training, happy days, you'll feel stronger and get that pump workout in. But remember, calorie cycling is a big approach when we look at Christmas, as far as we can lower certain days down and we can increase certain days of calories to still keep the weekly calories at a deficit, because that's how weight loss happens and that's how fat loss happens. We keep our weekly deficit on point to make sure that we will lose, that 1% body weight per week. Now, yes, you do have to be slightly more planning based for that. Okay. And that's okay. That's a person who's deciding to cut. A person who's deciding to maintain, they can go to maintenance across the board and still have those slightly higher days. And then you might just stay at your cut calories for the lower days of the week. And that's even cool as well. But I think the biggest thing is, guys, no excuses not to move. Do a body weight workout or do a gym workout. Do a workout. Never miss 2 days in a row. Okay. We never miss twice in December. Choose your calories, track every day, except maybe 1 or 2 days if you're choosing not to track. That's still fine, because what it does, it just keeps you in line. And I think the big thing is I still would do my weight to see my weekly average. Okay. I would do my daily weight if this is someone who wants to cut or even maintain, I would do, and not, just go on whatever's going to happen. I would focus on making sure that I do my weekly weight, because it will spike, it will come down, spike, and will come down. You want to see what your weekly average is. Okay. And that's why you weigh yourself daily, because the day after it might spike for 2 days. And if you are training and you are back in your deficit, you'll see a harsh drop, right? And you depleted glycogen again. And like, if you only weighed yourself once a week and you weighed after you had the event, you're like, oh my gosh, I've gained 2 kilos. Like, no, dude, you didn't gain 2 kilos. You didn't go 15,000 calories above your maintenance. It is impossible. That's what we were taking. You did not gain 2 kilos like in that night or on Christmas Day. And if you did, please film yourself eating, because I want to see you eat 15,000 extra calories at lunchtime. Like, because I would watch that. I would watch it. And you'll probably go viral and make some money. So if you're doing it, make some money off it at least. But guys, like, it's not going to happen. All it is glycogen. All it is food in your digestive system. You probably just need to take a big shit, okay, and go for a run and do a bit of a pump session in the gym and deplete that glycogen, drop the carbs for a couple of days, and all of a sudden back to normal. So, guys, there are strategies that you can do, but the overarching strategy is be present, never miss 2 days of training or tracking, and on those events, and pick your events, okay, and on those events, don't eat like an asshole. I think those are the overarching strategies.
Yeah. When you're in those events, don't eat like an asshole. Focus on protein, focus on presence. And like the reason why most people do gain weight over this period isn't because they, make poor food choices and it's like, oh, it's because I had the steak instead of the ham or whatever, right? Like that's not the key that did it. It's because they weren't present. They focused overly on the food and the snacks and the drinks, and they just did all of that shit and they did it to excess, and then they felt like a fat piece of shit, and then they just kept going and they just kept like piling it on, right? The all or nothing mentality. So when you're experiencing this time, like the biggest thing I tell people is, we only have so many Christmases. When your kids, especially when your kids are little, you only have so many Christmases with them. Is eating really the most fucking important thing that you could be doing? Like if your kids are like running around, you're like, oh, I just want to sit here and have another beer. You only have like probably before they actually start not giving a shit about you, like 13, 14 Christmases. When they're like, and the first two, they're blob. They're either a blob or they're just like walking around and they don't really know what's going on, but they're unwrapping presents and it's fun. Like you have a limited number of Christmases with them. That's fucking sad. You've got like 10 in the sweet spot where they, know what's going on. They love you. They want to be a friend. They're not like, no, this isn't cool. So make the most of that with them. Right. And if you've got kids that are already a bit older, you already obviously have a bit more, but like then there's less pressure to put on stuff for the kids, and you can make it a little bit more about yourself and just enjoying their company, enjoying their presence, enjoying the family atmosphere, because that's what it's all about. It's about connection. It's never been about the food. I mean, me personally, I started a tradition last year where I made my own ham. Which is a fucking process. I realized at the very last minute that I actually needed to get curing salt. Otherwise, I would give my whole family botulism and we would die. So I found a butcher supply store 20 minutes away and went and bought some curing salt, which I've still got in the cupboard. I'm going to use again this year, but made my own ham, which was an awesome little tradition to do. And so as a result, I was eating a lot of it because I was like, it's lean ham. I made it myself. This is what I'm going to eat. No garlic bread for me. I've got to make my investment worthwhile. But dude, it's all about the connection. It's all about spending this time with your family, with your friends, like not making it about food and like, because most people just get so caught up in, oh, am I going to gain weight? Am I going to lose weight? You just got to take the fucking pressure off as well. It's like, stop trying to control what it has to be or what it needs to be. And as Trev's saying, just be slow and be present with it. And the right things will come naturally. This is like the start of learning how to intuitively eat. You keep in touch with roughly how much you're eating. You get yourself a bit of an idea of, oh yeah, I'm having a bit of this. I know this is roughly this many calories. Like I'm not tracking it anally, but too many people think, oh, if I'm tracking, then I can't have fun.
Oh,
like
exactly.
A lot of people have this warped idea in their head. And even my wife sometimes will say to me, she's like, oh, can you just not track for this day? Like, or not track this. And I was like, but like, why? Like, what's the difference between me tracking and not tracking for you? Because for me, it's fucking easy. And because obviously I've got experience. It's a skill. It's not something you're going to nail overnight, but it's a skill that you build. And I just pop a couple of things in the app. It doesn't stress me out. Like, it's not like when I was, especially when I was on like a deep into a cut and I was on poverty calories and I was really, really hungry and angry, which does happen. Sometimes it's good to take a little bit of a break at maintenance. But that time, it doesn't affect me. Right? It's not an issue for me, but there will be people around you that sometimes will be confronted by that, and you've got to be ready for that. You can just go, oh no, I'm just keeping a rough time. Oh, you're tracking on Christmas or you're tracking on Boxing Day. It's like, well, yeah, I just want to make sure I'm not, going crazy, and it's just a good way for me to see. Even if you are planning to overeat, if you still tracked it, just to be aware. Okay, I went over by like 1,000 calories. Trav and Jason said that's like probably 150 grams of fat a day. It's like, oh, and that probably didn't even
It's
happen
nothing.
because your body still took energy to digest that 1,000 calories extra, and it probably went to
Yeah.
your muscles and all sorts of stuff. So like that, like the act of doing that, you've got to be really like confident, really certain in yourself. It's like, all right, approach it with a curiosity and a like, oh yeah, I'm going to see how I go this Christmas. This is going to be really interesting, rather than just saying like, oh, I've got to either enjoy it or I've got to track it, like this dichotomy, which is complete bullshit.
You know what you could do if you are a bit of a drinker and you wanted to create a tradition with your older kids is you could do a beer mile, and this would probably cut down your alcohol consumption for the day. Is the beer mile is 1.6 kilometers, around 400-meter lap. You scull a pint of beer, you run 400 meters, and then every lap you have to scull a beer, and you essentially do this in 1.6 k's or a mile. The person who's done the fastest beer mile is 4 minutes 30. So not only he ran 1.6 kilometers in 4 minutes 30. He also sculled 4 pints of beer in this time. Now, like, mate,
well, the beer wouldn't have even hit him yet.
Yeah, I know. But like sculling 4 pints in 4 minutes 30 in itself, hey, good on you. That's great.
Yeah.
But then also running a 1.6 Ks in that time, it's like, wow, that's impressive. But what you could do, you could set this up as a challenge for your over 18 kids. If this is what you want to do and, drinking's part of your life, you do that. You know what you're not going to do probably for the rest of the day? Drink any beer, because it'll make you feel sick. So it's a really easy way to keep your beer consumption at 4 for the whole day. And
well, your heart's going to be pumping. It's going to be getting the blood alcohol is going to be going, like you'll get you pissed pretty quick.
Exactly. You got that's your new tradition. All of a sudden, everyone's running down the track on Christmas Day to try and do the beer mile. Hey, you heard it from here first. It's the new Aussie tradition. So, but like guys, it is about creating traditions. Like Jace, you got the ham. Like, do a workout with your kids. There's enough 24-hour gyms out there. Go do one, or go out the backyard. Go for a run with your kids. Or like, guys, right now it's mid-November. Okay. And I know myself, I've felt self-conscious in a previous version of me at summertime, taking my shirt off down the beach. And if you're in an Aussie or a Southern Hemisphere culture, you're wearing less clothes on, somewhere between December to February. Now, it's not too late to feel more confident. You can still drop 3 to 5 kilos before Christmas. You can still tighten up that midsection. I'm not saying you'll enjoy yourself more, but if you do feel self-conscious, okay, if you do currently, and that's a choice, you don't have to. If you do currently feel a bit more self-conscious about your weight, you still can drop a little bit of body fat before Christmas. And I think that's a big thing, because that's also a choice. So you can be, or if it's a fitness tradition, you still got 6 weeks, guys, to get your fitness levels up. Just go get some sprints on every other day, get fit, and dominate your children at Christmas time for your new tradition, which is running 2 kilometers as fast as you can, or whatever it is, right?
Yeah,
like,
do who can win a 100-meter sprint and then do a 200, then do the 400, do the Olympics. Yeah. And then kick the footy around like that. Like a lot of guys come to me like, oh, I didn't do a workout this week, but I did go to like the park and kick the footy with the kids. I'm like, that's the stuff I'd like prefer you do half the time. Like rather than going into the gym on that day, it's like if you've got those traditions, I can go be active with the family. That's the shit that they remember.
Oh, mate, 100%. And you know what? If you do feel self-conscious and because of that, and you don't have all the energy and you feel like sluggish and all the rest of it, and you don't play with your kids, that's all the stuff they remember. Right? So you want to try and you still got time to increase your fitness dramatically before Christmas and before you have those weeks off, if you have your weeks off between Christmas and New Year's and all that sort of stuff. So you have time to increase your fitness so you can be an even more fitter version of you and be a fitter dad before then. And you can be down there at the beach playing and running and doing all those things, or kicking the footy in the park. And you can be fitter if you make a decision today to be fitter. And I'm not saying you have to, but I'm saying you can. I'm saying it's a choice. If you're choosing to or choosing not to, you're choosing to like go YOLO on food and alcohol for the month of December, or you're choosing to, make a bit of a crunch and get fitter so you can be the healthiest version of you for your kids for Christmas. So in the photos, you don't feel self-conscious, but you look back on those photos and go, yeah, like I loved the memories, and I loved also how I felt and looked inside those photos as well. So guys, happy. I just want to preface it like your weight doesn't determine your happiness. It doesn't, but your weight does determine your fitness level to an extent, and also your training program determines your fitness level to an extent. So you want your training program to help you become the fitter version of you and the most optimal weight version of you. And that will just automatically make you feel like a better version of you. And if you feel like a better version of you, you will look back at those photos, because when we look at photos, we kind of drop into the moment. I don't know what that terminology is called, but you probably would, Jace. But we start to feel like I can see photos of me and Jax and Liv and Finn, and it drops me into the emotions and the feeling of that moment. When I look at photos, they're like light bulb moments. You can breathe the air, you can taste the food, like all the rest of it.
Anchoring.
And also, it's anchored moments, right? And we all have these different type of anchored moments on these photos, and like photos happen at Christmas time. So if you look back at these photos and we were feeling like shit about ourselves, when you look at those photos, it's hard sometimes not to feel a little bit like shit, right? So if you're feeling good about yourself in those photos and you look back at those photos, it's hard not to feel good, right? So I think, remember, guys, you get the choice to feel really good, and you still got time to get a little bit fitter before Christmas and then tackle that silly season. When we say the silly season, it's obviously the terminology, but it doesn't have to be silly. You don't have to be silly. You don't have to eat like an asshole. You can plan and project. And in that time, if you haven't listened to last week's podcast about, how to win at life and reinventing yourself over 365 days, towards the end of December, like, I like to take stock of the year. What went well, what went wrong, and what am I going to do differently next year? And I cast out what my next year is going to look like and how I can win that. So, December is a time of reflection and projection as well. So whilst you're reflecting and projecting, remember that December is 8% of your year. We don't throw that out. It can be, you can still dominate the back end of your year. You can still achieve those goals that you've wanted to lose 10 kilos at the start of the year. You can definitely still lose 10 kilos by mid-November to December 31 if you want. If you don't want to feel that pressure, you want to lose 5, you can. If you want to maintain until January 1 and dominate the 2024, Jesus, I can't believe that's the word I just said, then you can as well. I'm not accepting that yet. But guys, that's personally, and I think steps. The other thing is just keep moving and get your steps up. Automatically, again, I'm going to sort of say the Southern Hemisphere, those guys, you automatically eat a little bit less when it's summer because it's hotter. If you're doing it tough in the Northern Hemisphere and it's cold and you're rugged up, and, you can still do that as well. But I tend to eat a little bit less in summer just because I'm hot. And I'm always hot, if you ask my wife. So I just tend to eat a little bit less. My metabolism is running a little bit harder with the heat. So, guys, that's how I would tackle the silly season. Jace, what about yourself?
Yeah, it's like the silly season. You could call it the silly season because this is when you get the chance to be silly with your kids and not have to worry about work. Yeah. Maybe that's the frame that you use for them, because then you're not growing up indoctrinating them into the idea that you've got to drink, get fucking pissed and do all this sort of stuff during this time because that's just what you do. I was just thinking of something as well. My brother and my brother-in-law, both business owners, they used to do a chat, or they still do, I think, do a challenge in December. They call it Salesmas, because typically for a lot of businesses, unless you're like a retail store, businesses tend to get a lot less revenue during December because everyone's saving for Christmas and they're buying Christmas presents and doing this kind of stuff. So they set a challenge and they were like, all right, well, how about every December we just have a competition to see how many sales we can make in our respective businesses and how much sort of income we can bring in to prove that that's bullshit and that doesn't have to be the case for all businesses. And I kind of want to do the same thing for us and have Fit Dad December, right? Where we prove that you don't have to gain weight over December, and you don't have to buy into that bullshit. So I've just formulated this on the fly. I was thinking, as Travis was before, I was like, a name. I was like Shred December. I was like Fit Dad December. I think it works. I like it. We'll go through and we'll be like, oh, this is how you can still become a fit dad over December. You'll be like live videos and shit like that. I think that's what I'm thinking, mentally formulating it. But that's the way that you do it is, number one, you get accountable to people, right? You don't surround yourself with people that are going to be like, oh, nah, just have another beer, just do this, just do that. Like, you make your intention known. And first, you've got to know your intention. You're like, well, what do I want to do over this period? Do I want this to be about food and drink and restriction and being all anal about it? I just said, no, making the commitment, making the committed decision to be like, I'm still going to be my best self in this time. I'm going to have a couple of days here and there where I, don't track as tightly as I would, or I just, I just enjoy the food that I'm going to eat, right? And that doesn't mean you have to go YOLO. And we take all of these considerations into effect, and you just move a bit more, and you just make sure you stay mobile. As Trav was saying, like for me, over this December will probably be like, my wife doesn't love the idea of me going into the gym or doing workouts, that kind of stuff. It's kind of like, she's like, for her, it's like, if you're doing that, then you're not enjoying yourself. So my best thing is going to be running around with Immy. I'm going to pretend she's a weight, lifting her up and down, I'm going to do my shoulder presses and running around playing with her and being as active in that as I can be. And then on the days sort of between Christmas and New Year's, going for a run. My family used to have a tradition where we used to all go up to Lancelin, which is about an hour and a half north of Perth, where my gran has like a 5-bedroom place. It's close to the beach. We'd go play tennis, we'd go swimming, do all that kind of stuff. And that's the kind of stuff that I want to, indoctrinate the kids into as well. And going down to the park and kicking their new balls and playing with their crickets and doing that sort of stuff is definitely a big part of it. And then if not able to get, everything in, you got a break, go for a 1, 2, 3K run, whatever it is, jump back in, do some push-ups, play with the kids. That's the kind of stuff that will keep me going. And for me, I cook most of the food, and that's the part that I enjoy. So making those meals, eating relatively leaner. I'm obviously at a point where I don't need to shred, much more. If I wanted to get abs, I could probably get them in 4 to 6 weeks. They would come through. At the moment, I'm kind of just maintaining, trying to gain a bit of muscle mass, so it's easy for me. But in saying that, if I was wanting to go through that, that's exactly what I would do. Just treat it like a normal month, enjoy those times, but enjoy the times for what they're actually for, which is like celebrating with your family, celebrating with your friends, just enjoying the festivities. I think half the other reason people do it, they go full out on this one, is because they don't set aside much other time throughout the year to enjoy themselves, right? They don't have other holidays and other, big celebrations. And that's kind of more of an indictment on your life and the way it's all got to be concentrated in December. It's like, no, well, what if you had a family? Like we have a tradition where, or a new tradition we're kind of doing. We go, Lauren's parents go down south every February, and they go down in a caravan and stay at a caravan park. So we're going to go down with them for like 4 or 5 days. It was like 3 or 4 days staying in like a little chalet at the same place, like big caravan park with a big pool and slides and all that kind of stuff for Imi, which is going to be awesome. That's another thing to look forward to. So you don't feel like you've got to rest everything on Christmas. And it's like, if Christmas isn't enjoyable, then, we've got to wait a whole nother year. It's like, no, stop putting the pressure on that one event and spread your joy throughout the year and have other moments to look forward to. Then it won't be all caught up in this one big time.
Dude, I completely agree. I think one thing I didn't touch on to finish off today is, if you feel like you lack motivation with your training, because that happens a lot in Christmas for people, because there's a lot of stuff other going on. Like I would set a goal, and when I say a goal, like a challenge in February or March or end of January that you're still trying to train for. I'm not talking about a weight loss challenge. Like I know that we're, like I said, in the last podcast, I'm running a 65 kilometer ultra at the start of December. So I know the start of December for me is fitness based. I know that I'm running the Great Ocean Road Marathon I think it's in May, but I'm going to go do I haven't signed up yet, but guys, I will be doing the half Ironman or the 70.3 in Hobart in February. So like I've got these things that I've scheduled in to my calendar that requires me to train for. So it's not a willing of like, and again, it's not training for weight loss or fat loss, it's training for performance. So it's like, schedule yourself a 10K run in February, like book it, pay for it, right? So you're going to keep your running up. Or there's a Spartan in February, like, let me know, I'll do it with you. Like I'll do whatever it is, like, and I'll get people to do it with us. Like schedule it, we'll do it. And then we have training for that. So if we start to schedule these events, what happens is, we are looking forward to the event in February or March that we're training for. So our minimal performance, our effort still increases even with our motivation is lower, because we're not training for right now weight loss in December. Our calories can still be around that, but we still get our training sessions in because we know, I want to perform in that event. So I know I'm going to still get the training in. So I think what happens is it will help you get the training done when you have an event coming up. So maybe that's something you do. You get off this podcast right now and you're like, I'm not a runner. become a runner. Right, become a runner by the end of February. Like, do a
I
5K,
did.
do a 10K. Yeah, exactly. Like,
I got halfway there, but
yeah,
I did
halfway
it.
there. Yeah, exactly. But Jace, 100%, man. Like, I think, like you saying I'm not a runner is labeling an identity upon yourself. Anyone can become a runner, right? Doesn't matter
All you
if
have
you're
to do is run.
Yeah, exactly. And all you do is you start. It could be the couch to 5K, and then you could sign up for a 5K in February. That's okay. It could be a 10, could be a 21, it could be a marathon. 1% of the people in the world do marathons. Become one of the 1%. I don't know. You do you, I do me, and if you want to do it together, that's what we're here for.
I like that. That was a clean segue.
But guys, if you do need help and you want to schedule a goal to start your year next year to winning at life and reinventing the new you, okay, like we talked about last week, is like set some goals that are crazy and set them in the first quarter and go to fit-dad.club and let us help you do it. Like, it's not bad, guys, to reach out and ask for help. Like, if my car's fucked, I go to a mechanic. But I go, I'm going to try and fix it myself. Like, I know people that do. Okay, I'm not one of those people. I go to a professional. You know what? Because I rely on the professional to do it fast, effortlessly, and easy in the best way possible. If I tried to do it myself, one, I'd probably have to buy a new car for one, but two, it would take a lot more of my time and I would fuck up a lot along the way. So why you come to us is because we make the process fast and easier and more enjoyable and support. And you tell you exactly what to do. Imagine you just like, I'm losing weight every single week. I'm eating more food than I ever have. I really enjoy the experience. That's what we do. It's not fad diets. It's not keto bullshit. It's not anything crazy. It's helping you enjoy the process of weight loss and making it the last diet you ever have to go on. So you can actually start to lose the fat, gain muscle, then lift your metabolism. That's what we do. So you can eat more food after your diet and maintain a great body or a great healthy and fit body as a fit dad than you did even at the start of your diet. I think that's amazing. That's what my guys say to me a lot. It's like, man, I've lost like 20 kilos and I'm eating more food right now at the end of their reverse diet than I before we even started. Like, I eat so much food now. I feel like this is counterintuitive. It's like, yeah, because your metabolism's running better. You're partitioning nutrients better. You're taking those carbohydrates and using them for fuel, and you have a better understanding about what food you should be eating as well. So, and that your food volumes change. Your palate's changed a little bit as well. So I think for you guys, if you want to set a cool goal, go to fit-dad.club and we'll help you crush it. It's starting now for the last 6 weeks of the year. And to motivate you into the first 6 weeks and first 12 weeks of next year, we'll help you crush it. And we'll crush those goals together to make you be the best you in 2024. But you know how to navigate the silly season now. You know what you need to do. Go to fit-dad.club, book in, we'll have a chat with you and we can help you out. Leave a comment, leave a review. Tell us what you want these podcasts to be around. We'll help you with that as well. But that's it for me today, guys. I hope you have a great silly season. And Jace, for you,
keep an eye out for Fit Dad December coming exactly. Near you. We'll keep an eye out on the socials. We'll be doing something for it, whether it's the free content, whether we do a bit of a challenge for the guys. It's coming. So if that's the kick up the arse you need to be a month ahead of everyone else who waits till January and realistically waits till halfway through January to get their shit together, you can be 6 weeks ahead of that and you can have momentum. This is the biggest thing. You have to have momentum going into this season, momentum going into the new year to steamroll through all the bullshit and the excuses and the bros offering you beers so that you can become the best version of yourself. Because then guess what? After that, you've got like realistically till if you don't count Australia Day, you've got till like Easter before the next sort of big holiday thing comes around. You've got 3 months to formulate these new habits to be the best version of yourself. We can fucking do it. All right. So join us for Fit Dad December, whatever it looks like. I don't know what it is yet, but it'll be a thing.
I forgot to mention that. You just mentioned Australia Day. Guys, I've had gyms and been in this industry for 2 decades. The amount of people that I've talked to that say they don't get started in January because they all or nothing mindset, I'll just wait till after Australia Day because January in Australia is a bit of a drinking episode. What they're doing is it happens so much. So much.
25 days.
I know. They give up and then they're like, I'll just get started in February because it's the new month. They give up 16% of the year because of December.
So they get started in the shortest month.
Yeah, exactly.
I only have to do it for 28 days.
Yeah, it would be right. So, guys, like, and so many people have said to me this over the last 20 years. That's like, oh, just wait till after December, after Australia Day to start tracking my calories. It's like, guys, just get started now, because like 2 months, you can completely change your life. So, guys,
100%.
until next week, enjoy yourself, get fit, be a great dad, and keep kicking those goals. And we'll talk to you then. Bye.
Peace out.